Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Haynes. As promised at class, here is a video that'll explain the things that we learned how to do on the calculator in terms of modeling linear regressions from section 2.4 and doing matrices from 12.1. So first of all, everybody, you should have your book, your calculator, and piece of paper for notes. I want you to work through this whole problem with me, and I want you to listen to why we do the things we do. So it's not just pushing a series of buttons on the calculator, but it's the mental process for how to handle these. I'm not going to be doing these for everything we learn on the calculator, so you need to learn the basics to be able to apply them to all of them for why we do what we do. So let's get started. If you don't have your book, go get it, and I'll wait for a minute, and then pause the screen, and then you can turn it back on when you get back. Okay, should have your book open to page 94, and we're going to do problem 2. So I'm going to go ahead and read that. The table shows the median home prices in Florida. What is the equation of a trend line that models the relationship between the time and home prices? Use the equation to predict the median home price in 2020. Okay, so first of all, before we even start anything, we're going to look at the data, and this is where you're going to need your pencil and paper. So I'm going to go to the whiteboard. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to model the data. So we've got X and Y. And you'll always want to do this with time. They always list it in the year that it happens because that's how time works. But we're always going to make the starting point year 0. And if you look, the starting point is 1940. So the next data point is going to be 10 years later. So we've got 10. And then it happens every 10 years until it's 60 years later, from 1940 to the year 2000. So those are going to be our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 data points. And then I'm not going to write all of these up here, but you'll notice that in year 0, which is 1940, house price was $23,100, and by the year 2000, it was $105,500. So we're going to look at those. Now we're going to use that information to make some decisions. Remember, there was something, if you look at your TI screen, it looks something like this. And when you do a graph, you're going to have an X and a Y. Okay? So this outside box is the actual screen, and then you're going to have an X-Y axis. Now, whatever point you choose to make the very top of your screen where the arrow is going to be Y max. This one here is going to be X min because it's the smallest X value, because this is our X axis and our Y axis. This will be Y min. And probably should have done a little arrow here. This will be X max. So let's decide what we want things while we're looking at our data. So our X min is going to be 0. I don't like to make it 0 because I like to be able to see a little bit past where my data points are. Our maximum, it has the year being 60, so we'll make it 70. So basically, the year minus 10 is 10 years before year 0, which was 1940. So this will be 1930. This will be the year 2010. Okay? Y min, it's got 23,100. Why don't we just make that 20,000? Y max, let's make it 110,000. Okay? So that's how we're going to want to set up our graph, and that's going to be the data that we want. Also, when you calculate a trend line, what we're going to be doing, so what we're trying to do is we're going to plot some points. We're going to make a scatter plot where we graph all of these points. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. This will be the X, this will be the Y, X, Y. That'll be our second point, third point, fourth point, etc. Okay, and this is how we're going to set up our window so that we can see our points. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to enter all the points on the computer, on the calculator. So let me hop out of this. Okay. Okay, so now you should be able to see the calculator there. Let me go ahead and get out of all this stuff. So make sure your calculator's cleared out. The first thing we want to do before we enter data, we've got to make sure we've got our windows on our graph set up. And so that window that I talked about, remember, think about it as what I talked about, that being an actual window. So we're going to go to Window and look and see what you wrote down. We said our X minimum was 0. Use the down arrow. The X maximum, we'll clear what we've already got, and we're going to put in 70. Oops, I forgot. X min, we didn't make 0. I'm going to go back up. We decided to make that one. Actually, I got to put it in now. Sorry. It's been a long day. Put in 70. I'm going to go back up because I want to change this one. It's supposed to be -10. Okay. And then X, oops, didn't like that. So let's go back to Windows. X10 is, oh, I put in a minus sign. -10. Okay. X scale, that means each of the little lines on it, one's probably not, we're going to make each one of those 10. That way it'll be marked off every 10 years. Our Y minimum, I can't remember what I wrote on the other page. I should have written it down when you guys are writing it down. We'll make it 20,000. I think that's what I said. Actually, let's just make it 0. Okay. Y max, we'll make it 120,000. Y scale, now this one is interesting. Why don't we make, since it's going from basically, we kind of want to mark about every, since we're going 0 to 120,000, why don't we make each mark on it 10,000? Okay. Okay. And so that gets us set up. So our X's are going from -10, and remember that's in years, to 70. And every 10 years, there's going to be a little hashtag mark. Our Y minimum is 0. The max is 120,000. And there's going to be one of those little marks every 10,000. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so if we want to get out of that, hit quit. Now we've got to make sure some things are turned on so we're ready to work. So I want everyone to go to Mode and hit Mode. We're going to be running stat diagnostics, so that needs to be turned on. So go down to Stat Diagnostics, and if it's off, make sure it's turned on. And hit Enter. Okay. We'll get out of that. Okay. Now we're ready to enter our data. So we're doing statistical calculations, and you put the data in lists in statistics, and the abbreviation for that is stat. So we're going to push the stat button. And whenever, we talked about this in class, whenever you want to start a list or input data, whether it's a list or a matrix or anything, edit is always going to be the key. So we're going to choose edit and hit enter. And here's what you do. If you already have stuff in your list and you need to clean it out, here's what you do. Use your up and down arrows to get to the list that's got data in it. And you highlight up there where the name of the list is. So this is list number 1. And we're going to hit clear. And then hit enter to choose it. I'm going to do the same thing for list 3. So if you have any information in your list, this is the way to clear it. Hit clear and then hit enter. Don't forget, when you hit a button, nothing happens until you hit enter. Okay, so our lists are empty, and now we're going to enter them in. So I'm going to go back to list 1, and I'm going to enter in all the numbers that we wrote down for X. And every time you hit enter, what's going to happen is it'll jump down to the next one. If it takes you longer to do it, go ahead and just pause it because I don't want to slow down the video. So if you don't have all yours entered by the time I do, then pause the video until you're ready. Okay, so we've got all of our X values in. Now we've got to go to our Y values. These are going to take a little longer because they're bigger numbers. I have to do mine. You're lucky you guys get to push buttons. I have to do mine with the mouse. Okay. Okay, I obviously skipped one because I don't have the right numbers. So I'm going to go back and figure out where I went wrong. Oh, there is no 70, duh. Okay, so let me go back to this one. Shoot, I don't know how to get out just one, so I'm going to clear the whole list and type them in again because I was only supposed to go up to 60. Gives you guys plenty of time to get caught up. Okay, so now I've got a match. So I double checked to make sure all my numbers are right, and they are. So I can get out of this by hitting quit. Okay, now we've got stat plot turned on, which allows us to graph points. And so what we're going to do is see what it looks like on our calculator. So you go to graph up here at the top, and you can see a plot of points. So this is year 0, 1940, 20,000, and you can see the way I labeled these. It's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. I think this was 20,000. Oh no, 0, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, all the way up. So that's what we look like. So we just graphed all the points. So now that we know what we looked at, if we were going to hand draw a line, we would try and draw a line kind of, it'd be above some points, but if we drew a straight line, first of all, to tie it in, it looks like a pretty strong positive correlation. The higher the year, the more it was worth, and it looks like a fairly straight line. What we're going to do now is we're going to calculate data for that. So we're going to calculate a line and put it in here. So we're going to go back to our stat. Let me clear all this stuff out. We're going to go back to our stat button. And this time we're going to do a calculation. And we know we're doing a linear regression. Linear regression means find the best straight line that you can find. And that's going to be down here on 4. So we're going to go down, and it's saying, do we want it to look like? I want you to notice this right here, this linear regression AX plus B. So I want to talk about a couple things with that. Okay, if it's AX plus B, let me get rid of all this stuff. Okay, if it's AX plus B, I want to remind you, we've already been doing this a lot. Y equal MX plus B. The only thing the calculator does is it's still slope, they just use the letter A. So when it says AX plus B, what it means is, for linear regression, the A value is going to be the slope, and the B value is going to be the y-intercept, okay? Keep that in mind. I want you to write this down. I want you to write y equal mx plus b, and I want you to write y equal ax plus b, knowing that the m and the a are the same thing, and the b and the b are the same thing, okay? So keep that on your piece of paper, and we'll come back to it in a second. Okay, so we're back here. So we want to calculate a linear regression line. And so what we're going to do is we're going to choose enter. And it's going to want to, remember when we were making those lists, we put all of our x's in column 1 and all of our y's in column 2. Okay? And the rest of it you don't have to worry about. It should all be blank. Okay? So it's just saying what do you want to use? What list do you want to use for your X values, and what list do you want to use for your Y values? We press enter. Okay, and here it is. I want you to copy this down. I want you to copy down Y equal, on your piece of paper, Y equal, our slope is 1411. We'll go ahead and just do 0.43. Put the X in there. It's not there, but you have to know it. 1411.43x plus 25114.28. Okay? So those are going to be our slope is 1411.43. Our y-intercept is 25,114.28. Okay? And this is what you should write when you do that. Jump back to the whiteboard. So I'm going to write down what we just got off the calculator. We know that y equal ax plus b, y equal 1,411.43x plus, I don't have enough room, so I'm just going to do it down here. I don't like it when you guys do that, but mine's a lot more narrow. So this is the linear equation for house prices from in Florida from 1940 to 2000 Okay, so after you have that copied down, we're going to go back to our calculator. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to get out of this. So hit quit. Second quit gets us out. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to graph this line. So you go to y equal and make sure it's empty. If it's not empty, just go to it and hit clear. And we're going to type in the equation that we just wrote down. So it's 1411.43. And then the X button that you have to use is this one up here. It's right next to the alpha key. It says XT theta N. And you'll notice it pops up as an X plus 2,514.28. Okay. And we want to graph that line and see how it looks. And it's going to be in the color blue. And that's our linear regression. So in the homework, it's, if you look at the, I want you to go back to page 94. It says, what is the equation of the twin line that models the relationship between time and home places? Okay, we also talked about correlation coefficient, or R. We have to write that down as well. So we have to write down the correlation coefficient because you have to do that for some of your homework problems. So let's go back to stat and back to calculate, because we didn't write it down before. I deliberately didn't because I wanted to make sure you guys could get back here. We're going to run it again. Same list. Okay, I want you to look at that R, and you want to round that to 3 decimal places. So on your paper, you're going to write, if they ask for the correlation coefficient, you've got to know that that means R. It's 0.981. The closer it is to 1, the stronger the correlation. So this was a very strong correlation, positive correlation. Okay, and so you would actually go back to your paper. This is what you're going to write in your homework. And you're going to write R equal 0.981. Okay. I want you to look at the top of the page again, page 94. It says, use the equation to predict the median home price in 2020. What's the median home price in 2020? First of all, let's go look at our graph. Actually, look at your chart. You see your X's and Y's that you wrote? I already erased mine. Is 2020 on there? It's not, is it? It ends at 60. So think about how high your X's are going to have to go to show it. So 70 would be 2010. 80 would be 2020. So let's go to 90 to be safe. That way our X is going to, so we're going to change our X max to 90. So we're going to change our X max to 90 so that we can go up to see what the price is going to be like in 2020. Also, we probably don't have, looking at how much cost is growing, we probably aren't spending enough on our house either. So why don't we make our Y max 160,000. So we're going to go to our windows and change those. This will be good practice. So I'm going to stop share. Oh, shoot. Back to our calculator. So we're going to clear this out. We're going to go back to our window. This time we're going to take our X max. We're going to go, we were at 70, we're going to go to 90. That way it'll go all the way to the year 2030. So we'll be able to see our data point. And we know our house price is going to be more than 120,000. So just to be safe, let's put in 160,000. 160,000, okay. And just to see how it looks different, let's graph it. All the data points are the same, but we're going further out, which is we don't have any data points for that last 30 years. That's why you don't see anything. And the y-axis, the little trend marks had to get smaller. So it looks smaller, but it's the exact same data points. So the question is, how do we know, using our line, how do we know what the median home price is in 2020? So in your head, I want you guys to do this. Figure out what X value is 2020. I'll give you a second to think about that. I want you to write it down. What X value is 2020? Okay. It's going to be 80, isn't it? Because 2020 is 80 years after 940. So let's see what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a new button. Do you see this calculate button up at the top of the computer? It's in blue, so we do a second function. Okay, and we want to calculate a value. So the value's already hit, so we're going to hit enter. And it's saying, hey, what value do we want for our X? We want to find out what it is in 2020, and that's the year 80. So I'm going to put the year 80 in there. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then it tells me what, I must have done something wrong because they've got 138,000 and this says 149,000. Oh, I know why. Our line is better than their line. They used a different line. They didn't do it with the calculator. They just do it and took a guess. They just took a guess between any 2 points. So we're going to stick with ours. So for that, for our answer for that, it'd be Y equal $138,028. And that's how you do those. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop that one. And we're going to move on to the second one. This one will go quicker. It's how to do matrices. So I want everybody to open your book to page 761. This is going to be 12.1. So I want everyone to get to the top of 761. Top of page 761. We're going to do problem number 22. Okay. So problem 22 says B minus A. And since the B's are capital like that, it means matrix B minus matrix A. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to look at matrix B and matrix A. And you'll notice, think about what size matrices they are. I'm going to go to share screen. I'm going to clear all this out. We don't need any more. So now we're in 12.1. So first of all, matrix A is going to be, it has 3 rows and 2 columns. So it's a 3 by 2 matrix. That doesn't mean time sign. It just means it's 3 rows and 2 columns. It's a way of showing that. Okay. Matrix B is also 3 rows by 2 columns. So they're both 3 by 2 matrices. So now we're going to enter those matrices in our computer, in our calculator. So let's go back to the calculator. Okay. And I need to get rid of all of this. Okay. So what we're going to do first is everything we're going to do with matrix, we're going to do from the matrix button. So do you see that matrix button right there? It's right above the inverse X button. So we're going to go to second and choose matrix. And remember what I said about lists. Whenever you see the word edit, that's where you input data to create things or to change things. So it's already got it's got matrix A highlighted, and that's the one we want to edit. So we're going to edit matrix A, hit enter. And the first thing we need to do is to set our size. So the first number is how many rows it has. And when you hit enter, it'll bounce to the next one. And the next one is how many columns it has. Okay, hit enter. And now we're ready to start entering. So just go ahead and enter the numbers from the book. And every time you hit enter, it'll jump across, and that lets you enter them really fast. And then it goes to the next row. And I know in class, a lot of you guys got the wrong answers because you typed in the wrong numbers. So when you're done, you need to look and double check to make sure that yours matches the one in the book. Because if your data is wrong, your whole thing is going to be wrong. And I don't give partial credit for that because you should be paying attention. Last one, 0. So 361, 4, -20. That one looks good, so I'm done. So I'm going to hit quit to get out of it. And then we've got to do the same thing for matrix B. So you go to the matrix button. Remember, it's a blue function. We go over to edit. This time we're creating matrix B. Okay, it's also a 3 by 2. Notice as soon as you enter those, it sets up all the boxes that you need. Okay, and I'm not going to say these out loud. I just want you to read them from the book and enter them. And then double check and make sure they match. Looks good. Okay. Now we don't want to see that screen anymore, so we'll do quit to get out of it. Now we're going to do problem number 22, B minus A. So first of all, we've got to call up matrix B. We've already entered the data for it, but we got to call it up. So we're going to go to matrix again. And names, you use edit when you want to create them or change them. You use names when you want to perform operations on them. So we want to perform an operation on B. So we're going to go down to B because that's first. Hit enter. And see, it even puts the little matrix bars in there so you know that's what you're doing. And then we're going to subtract matrix A. So we go to matrix. And it's already got A highlighted, so we're happy with that. Looks like that. So we want to say matrix B minus matrix A and hit enter. And then you're going to copy that down on your paper. So you're going to copy down. So you would, I'm going to copy it down and then show you what you need to have written. When you write them, you don't have to, I don't want you to do the brackets like they did. It's understood. So I'm copying these down so I can show you what you would do on your paper. Okay? Let's go back to your paper. Okay, so what we had to do was, so this is what you would write. You would write matrix B minus matrix A. It's important that they're capital. Also, when you're making your matrix signs, it's important that you have it curved. If you do straight lines, it's absolute values or it's determinants. It means something different. So it's super important that you have these little side bars on them to show that it's a matrix. -6. -4. I'm not going to go over how to do them by hand. You have to do some by hand as well, but those were pretty easy and nobody had any questions about that. Notice there's no commas. You don't do commas like you do for ordered pairs. And that's how you do matrices on the calculator. So it's going to take a while for this to upload. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. It should be going up Tuesday night, so you'll have it available for your homework coming kids, you'll have it available all the time. And alphabetic kids, you only lost a day because you didn't have it for today. I will see everybody in class next time. Bye.